Hi, this is Jen Evans, and this is my word sort video. Quick little introduction about me. My background is not in math education. Last year was my first year teaching math, and I had actually had no statistics growing up. I went to a private school, and I'm 44, so I graduated in 93. We didn't have statistics classes then. I did take calculus, but I did not have statistics. So last year I was teaching seventh grade math and I had to teach statistics before I'd ever had the Math 500 class. And it was a challenge. Thankfully, seventh grade statistics isn't that difficult to self teach. However, I will say it did influence the two words I picked today. And the first one being mean. So, when teaching statistics to students, um, of course, the word mean is not often a part of their vocabulary. They are familiar with the word average, but the word mean has a different connotation in their world. They have mean girls and they say mean things to each other. But to talk about the mean as a noun and as an important part of their statistics education is still pretty new to them. And we often bring up the mean when we're talking about data and central tendency. And so I really wanted to emphasize the idea of central tendency. So I chose for my definition that the mean is the central point in a set of numerical data. And I used a picture with the normal distribution to show where the mean would be found. And there's a little mu symbol underneath that line. That's what you probably can't see. But the arrow is pointing to the mean. Okay, the other word I chose was range. And the reason I chose that is actually for an embarrassing reason. Because in my former life, I was a band director. When I think of range, I think of a range on an instrument, right? The lowest note that an instrument could play to the highest note that an instrument could play, or the vocal. As a musician, I'm thinking of range as the lowest point or the highest point, not as all of the notes in between. So when I was teaching this to the students for the first time and we were talking about a math range, I incorrectly taught them that the range was the lowest data point or the highest data point. And thankfully, they had had an excellent sixth grade math teacher who had instilled confidence in them to be able to speak up and say, Mrs. Evans, I don't think that's correct. We believe that it's the difference between those 2 points. And so I sat down and looked it up, and sure enough, they were right. And I admitted my mistake and used it as a teachable moment that we make mistakes and we need to learn from those mistakes, and that even at my age, I've learned something. So, that is my embarrassing moment with range, and I wanted to make sure that this was included so that students can demonstrate that they understand that the definition here is the difference between the lowest and highest values in a set of data. The difference meaning we have to subtract, we have to actually do a mathematical operation to calculate the range. And then in my picture, I drew an arrow to the range, which is that line in between, not just two little lines pointing to the highest and lowest number, so that misconception could be avoided. Thanks for listening.